Do you want to be able to kill players like this?
I'm not ready yet.
Do you want to be able to kill groups of ads so fast like this? If the answer is yes, stick around. This is the PvE/PvP build that I promised you guys that I would bring you. I hope you enjoy. Alright guys, you know I don't like to waste your time, so in the description box down below there will be a link if you don't feel like sticking around for the entire video. Again, I would recommend that you guys stay because I'm going to be giving you guys a lot of tips and advice and telling you how a lot of these synergies work and why a lot of these things work so good in PvE, in the end game, and in PvP. So let's get into the armor. Right now, I have, when I get hit, I gain a magical bubble. I know you guys have seen this. In the build, in the link down below, I will have the names of everything of these aspects. I apologize that I don't know them up front. I've just been playing around with a lot of them and haven't really taken the time to like know the names by memory. I just kind of know what they do, and I'm like, that's something that I want. So on the helmet, we're gonna have where you, when you get hit, you get a magical bubble. Again, this is meta. I'm pretty sure you guys have seen it everywhere in PvE and PvP. This is a great perk play aspect. It's just going to help to keep the group alive, and even solo it's nice. And when it works in PvP, it's great because if you're ever in a pinch and this thing activates, it's very nice and it'll save your life, and it even will help you get the kill. Sometimes it helps too because it allows you to kind of reposition and kind of think, okay, what do I need to do now? I have a few seconds to kind of think and catch my breath. Great ability. Recommend you guys get it. On the chest piece, Frost Nova gains additional charge. Again, this is amazing for multiple reasons. One, we get 2 CCs. We get 2 abilities to make people vulnerable, which can increase our damage to them. And also, because it's a cooldown ability, we also have 2 opportunities to get 2 shields. Remember, as a sorcerer, when you use cooldown abilities, you get a shield for a few seconds. So again, by doing this, we added a CC and an extra shield in the build. Now, onto the gauntlets, we're going to have basic skills gain increased attack speed. Again, this is very important because Chain Lightning is going to be our bread and butter DPS, even in PvP, and there's a lot of synergies that have it, so the faster we can swing, the better. And again, like I said, if you're going to be using this as your primary DPS, which you will be because it's your basic and it's free, you want to make sure you can swing as quick as possible, because again, this is your bread and butter. The faster you can get the damage out, the better your overall DPS will be. Now on the legs, we have when you heal life per second per enemy close to you. Again, we're going to be surrounded by people. We're going to be surrounded by players. We're going to be surrounded by enemies. So this thing will always be up. It is great, and it actually stacks with our only healing passive that we have. Remember, sorcerers, we don't have a way to heal like burst heal, so it kind of sucks. We have to heal through damage by lighting people on fire, or we have to heal through this aspect right here. So for you rogues out there that are struggling to survive, I recommend that you guys get this aspect. It is very good. You're always going to be surrounded by people and enemies, so get this. Just a nice little heal over time. Now on the legs, I don't have the right aspect, but this one would still work because you will be using teleport, which will make you unstoppable. So after you TP, you'll be able to sprint fast for 4 seconds. Again, pretty good, but not the one I would recommend. The one I do want is called the Exploiters aspect, which is going to increase our damage to unstoppable enemies. Again, players are going to be casting unstoppable, bosses are going to be unstoppable, so that damage buff is always up, and it works wonders, guys. It's so good. I tested it. Yes, your damage does go up against bosses with the Exploiter aspect, so I would recommend you guys get it. Now, on our wand, we're going to have Meteors Fall during Inferno. Now, this is going to turn Inferno into a crowd control / damage over time / hard-hitting ultimate / crazy crowd control with immobilizing capabilities. Again, we want to immobilize enemies as often as we can because we get so many damage bonuses from immobilizing enemies. On the amulets, we're going to have, when damaging an elite, it grants you a barrier. Again, this works on bosses. This is also a very, very meta aspect in both PvP and PvE. I'm very sure you guys have seen this everywhere. You guys are probably running it yourselves, so you guys understand how good it is. Chain Lightning, we're going to have the one where it can bounce back off of you and has the chance to chain 2 more times. Again, guys, this is just nice because this is going to increase your overall DPS, and if this works on a player, it's very nice. And we're going to have passives where if our shock skills crit, they're also going to stun. So by getting those 2 additional charges off one cast, that gives us 2 more opportunities to get a CC potentially and get more damage. Now, we're going to have this aspect where distant enemies have an 8% chance to be stunned, and you deal 38% increased damage to stunned enemies. Again, our whole build, even in PvP, is all about stunning and immobilizing people. So this is just free damage on the build we're running. We don't have to do anything but stun them, and we get a massive DPS buff. So recommend you guys need to get this. Now, for the last one, we have you deal more damage to stunned, immobilized, or frozen enemies. Again, we are going to be stunning, we are going to be immobilizing, and we are going to be freezing enemies all the time. This is literally our whole build, so we just got another big damage boost. This is also going to work in PvP because, again, we will be immobilizing players, stunning players, freezing players. So again, guys, that is going to be all the armor and the aspects. Remember, in the link, I do have, I do actually have the proper names and everything for you guys so you can see it. But let's move on to the skills. So to start with our basic skill, we're going to start with Arc Lash. Again, guys, Arc Lash is our bread and butter DPS. It's going to be our basic attack, and it's going to give us our abilities to get our cooldowns down faster, which allow us to get more shields up and have a lot of synergies going, which you guys will see later. Now, our first enchantment is going to be Firebolt. Firebolt is going to be amazing because it's just going to add damage over time. Again, we don't really care for the damage over time. That's not what we're using it for, but we're using it for all the fire passives that are in the build, which are going to ramp up our damage significantly and give us healing and magic regeneration. Chain Lightning is going to be our core skill. Now, Chain Lightning is, everybody knows who's a Sorc main. You guys know this ability is super good. It was meta in the betas, and it's still really good now. And with our aspect where Chain Lightning can bounce additional times, that's going to increase the DPS of Chain Lightning. And also, since Chain Lightning is a shock skill, it can also stun, which if we stun enemies, you guys saw with the aspects, we have so much more damage. Now, we're going to have Frost Nova in the build. Again, this is going to be our CC, crowd control, and vulnerable ability. Now we have 2 charges with this, which is going to give us 2 opportunities to get shields. So again, that's going to synergize great, and this is going to also, like I said, crowd control and debuff enemies. Ice Armor is our primary shield. You guys all know Ice Armor is like meta for the Sorcerer, and it also gives us magic regeneration at the same time. So it's a win-win in every way. Now, Teleport, we have Teleport for PvP. Now, what I would do when I go into PvP is I actually put Teleport instead of Lightning Spear, because Lightning Spear just, I don't know, just something about it doesn't feel good, so I will use Teleport in its place. Now, so like I said, but for PvE, I keep Lightning Spear on, and then for PvP, I switch to Teleport, so I have an unstoppable ability. Lightning Spear is great, because again, Lightning Spear has the ability to stun enemies if it critically strikes. Again, as you guys see with our passives, we have a lot of ways to get our crit up. Now, for our enchantment slot, we have Meteor. Now, this is going to proc, this is going to have an 8% chance to proc onto enemies. So, guys, this is crazy. It works in PvP. It procs immobilization, which is going to ramp up our damage. And I've seen these meteors fall from the sky for like 12k. Now, I know you guys saying 12k is not a lot, but you got to remember I'm in the low 60s right now, so 12k to me is a pretty good number. Now, Inferno, we have the aspect where our Inferno is now going to cast meteors. So now this is an ultimate that's going to hit hard. It's going to pull enemies in to crowd control them. And then on top of that, it's going to stun them and ramp up our damage with our aspects. Now, let's get into the passives real quick. The first passives you're going to want to choose is Glass Cannon. For obvious reasons, Glass Cannon is very good. We're going to get increased damage. And you guys will see later that we can actually mitigate this through passives to get damage reduction. Now, the next passives you're going to want to choose is Precision Magic to increase our lucky hit. Again, you guys saw that meteor. We want to make sure we get a good chance to get those meteors to fall because it's based off lucky hit, which is going to proc immobilization, which is going to ramp up our damage. Now, we're going to have Align the Elements, where we get damage reduction when we don't get damaged by an elite. Again, this is a great ability right here. Players are considered elites, bosses are considered elites, so this is going to help us make us more tanky to also help mitigate the Glass Cannon passive. Now, Mana Shield, every time you spend 100 mana, you gain 15% damage reduction. Again, guys, I would recommend you get this. You're going to be using magic all the time, so you might as well be a tank while you're doing it. Protection, this is the skill I was talking about. We have our shield, right? And then we have our 4 abilities, so that gives us 5 potential shields to make. And then on top of that, since we have a second charge of Frost Nova, we have a 6th shield. Again, guys, it is crazy. Our Ice Armor shield is so big because we have 2 shields stacking on top of each other. Guys, get this. It's meta, and that's why in the armor I had rubies, because you want to increase your maximum life, because this is based off maximum life. Now, down over here, we're gonna put 1 point into here to Inner Flames to be able to get Devouring Blaze, which you deal 50% increased critical strike damage against burning enemies. Again, everything's gonna be on fire. We're gonna have super high crit, so we're gonna do a lot of crit damage, and on top of that, if they are immobilized, this bonus is increased to 125. Again, if our meteors fall, they immobilize. When we cast our ultimate, everything is immobilized. So you guys see the synergy is pretty nuts. Now we come down here, critical strikes with the shocks will have a 5% chance to form crackling energy. We want to put a point here so we can get this shocking impact. Every time you stun an enemy, you deal 1,000 to 1,200 shock damage. Again, guys, we're going to be stunning all the time, so it's just going to be bursts of lightning everywhere. Works really good. Highly recommend this passive you guys grab. And then obviously down over here, killing an enemy increases our mana regeneration by 30%. Guys, we're going to be killing so many people on fire. We're going to be killing so many ads on fire. This is going to help to ramp up our sustain. Now, every 1 second you heal for 0.9 of your maximum health, and against bosses and elite, it's 1.8. Guys, this is going to stack with the aspect that we have on our build, and this is what's going to help us to stay alive. You guys can, for fun, you guys should get this passive and then get that aspect that I have where you heal when enemies are close to you, and just let them beat you up and just hit them one time with Arc Lash and see your health just shoot up. You guys, it's impossible to die. The only way you're really going to die is if you're just swarmed by like 70 enemies. Like, you're just not going to die with this build. It's that good. And then obviously we're just going to put 1 point here so we can get to here. And this is just going to increase our damage, our burning damage. Again, we don't really care for the dot damage in the game, but it's nice to have. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to go to Coursing Currents. Hitting enemies with shock skills increases your critical strike chance. Guys, we're going to be spamming shock skills all the time. So you're going to see how we're going to ramp up our crit to proc all those passives. Electrocution. Enemies deal 10% less damage for 5 seconds after being critically struck by your shock skills. Again, guys, we're gonna be critically striking all the time with our shock skills. So this again is counteracting the glass cannon passive. Now we're gonna have convulsions. Shock skills have a 6% chance to stun enemies for 3 seconds. Again, guys, we want to stun to proc all our passives to get our damage ramped. Now for our pinnacle passive, we're gonna use Ver's Mastery. Close enemies take 10% increased damage from your shock skills and deal 20% less damage to you. Critical strikes increase these bonuses by 25%. Again, guys, we are going to be next to enemies all the time, and we are going to be hitting them with shock skills and stunning them and critting them. So we're gonna proc. They deal less damage. So this counteracts the glass cannon passive. Now let's get into the Paragon board. Now for your first Paragon board that you are going to choose, choose Burning Instinct. Again, we're not going to use it for the legendary node because we don't really need the burn damage. The burn damage just doesn't do enough to justify like spending the points to get there. So I would recommend rotating the board so you can actually get the glyph socket closer to you. And I would recommend grabbing Smoldering Embers and Cinders and Kindling. Again, we are going to be having enemies on fire with this build, and we're gonna have enemies on fire with this build. We're gonna be stunning enemies, and we want damage reduction because the enemies are gonna be on fire. So this is gonna make us tankier, and we're gonna increase our overall damage to them. Now the next board you're gonna want to choose is Static Surge. Static Surge is gonna restore 10 mana for stunning, guys. I've seen this work so good. Now this works with any of our lightning abilities to get the stun, and even in PvP, it's crazy. I didn't get to have this in my PvP montage, but if I had this, it would have been so nice because I would have had a lot more sustain. Now, I've seen this to where I've been able to like cast Chain Lightning like 11 times because there's that many enemies just everywhere in the dungeon. And when I say 11 times, I don't mean like 11 times in one setting because they're all dead by that time. But like if I'm fighting an elite and it's just proccing back and forth, stunning them and then stunning enemies around the room, it is nuts how much mana I get. Sometimes it's too much that it's like unfortunate, like it keeps it full, and I kind of waste some of it because I don't get to take advantage of it. And then the node you want to grab here is Overwhelming, which is going to increase our damage to stun enemies and damage to elites. Again, we're going to be increasing our damage to stun enemies, and then players are considered elites. So again, we're going to increase our damage to players. So that's why you want that. Over here, we're going to be grabbing Incapacitate, 30% damage to stun enemies. Again, guys, we're going to be stunning, so this is the one that you want for sure. And the glyph socket, the one that I have for the build is, let me see where it is. I think it's, I don't have it slotted on because I'm trying to finish my region progress to get my 4 Paragon points. I'm so sorry. Here it is. We're going to use Territorial. For every 5 dexterity purchase within range, you deal 2% increased damage to close targets. Again, we're going to have so much dexterity to grab here because this is going to like grab this we're gonna have to come up here, like come up here to grab this, and then if you want to really boost it, we can kind of come up here. All right, guys, that is the build video. I'm sorry it was long. I was trying to keep it short. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm leveling up a rogue because you guys asked for a rogue. And if you guys stuck around to the end of the video, the question that I have for you guys is, what is better for the sorcerer? Is it using a staff or is it using dual wield? Please let me know. This is a question I just haven't had a clear answer on, and I would really like to know. So thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate it. As always, peace.